Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am 3 for 3. We're putting out these videos, 3 videos in 3 days. If you're new to this channel, welcome. We share our life journey on building and running an Airbnb business from the US. And we definitely share the unfiltered version of what it's truly like to be an Airbnb host. So today we're going to jump into the Airbnb rating system. We're going to talk about how guests rate us, why those ratings matter more than what you may think, how to get better ratings, and how to handle bad reviews like a pro. Trust me, if you are going to be a host or you are currently a host, this is definitely a video you do not want to miss. Let's get started with the basics. When guests rate you, they don't just give you an overall score. You are rated in 6 different individual categories, and we're going to talk about each one. If you don't already know, you are rated on a star system from 1 to 5, with 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. And of course, as a host, you want to always receive all 5s in every category. Let's start out with the first category. I love to talk about cleanliness. The question that Airbnb will ask the guests is, how well did Paris clean her home before you arrived? Of course, they're rating me between 1 and 5. I want the 5. And if the person picks the 5, Airbnb shows them certain things that would go along with this 5, meaning a pristine kitchen, meaning this kitchen is just completely clean. They can't find any flaws wrong with this kitchen. Squeaky clean bathroom, spotless furniture and linens, and the home is free from clutter. This is what they're showing them if the guest chooses 5. You need to have a solid cleaning protocol, a checklist, and a reliable person. And even when they clean, they need to check, because what do I always say? No one is perfect and everyone makes mistakes. Number 2, let's talk about accuracy. You guys, that word is self-explanatory. Don't have pictures from 20 years ago and it's not what your current home looks like. And make sure that you check your listing, because sometimes you may have put something on the listing that you don't currently offer anymore. Maybe you don't give, oil, cooking oil, or you don't give personal care items, and it may be on that listing. And then when the guest comes, they expect that. I would rather undersell and over deliver. They come in and they see something that they weren't expecting. I would rather do that than to actually tell them something and it's not there. One great example that I would like to share with you guys in my own personal experience is at my condo building, we have a pool. And for 1 year, this pool was under renovation. So I definitely took this off my listing, but a lot of people know my building for having a pool. So each and every time I would let the guests know before they book, let them know that the pool was under renovation, because I wanted them to understand that that pool would not be available. So if this is a deal breaker for them, better they know now than to book and then to come to the place and be disappointed. I saw a lot of Airbnb hosts that continued to let the pool stay in the pictures and on their listings, and then the guests would come back in reviews like, oh, I thought it was going to be a pool there. The owner said the pool was under renovation, but this is after the fact. And now they're mad about it. So then it's reflected in their reviews. So just be honest. It's just the better way to be. Number 3, check in. How easy was it to find a place, and how easy was it to get inside? Now, if the person is going to rate you 5 stars, that means that the place was easy to find. It was easy to get inside. It felt like home when they got in there. And if they had any problems with check-in, it was easy to contact you or easy to find the resource that you had provided for them. Some resources that you can use can always be very, very detailed instructions on the property, pictures, maybe videos. Remember, I shared with you guys that I do have pre-recorded videos and I also have pictures. I have step-by-step directions on getting into the gate, which way they turn, get on the elevator, turn left, look right. That's how I did it, so anyone can understand the instructions. Number 4, communication. How well did you communicate from booking to checkout? You always want to respond, even if you don't have the answer, to just let them know that you got their message, you're working on it. It, will take, a few minutes. And if they're just asking you something before they even come, that, whenever you can get back to them, you want to let them know, because they will feel that you care and that they're being taken care of. You had helpful instructions. You were friendly You always responded. You were proactive. And for others, you may have helpful recommendations for them to stores, restaurants, activities, transportation. These are things that get you 5 stars. Number 5, location. Now, I know and you know we can't control where the property is, but we can highlight some of the positives like convenience, security, attractions. I know that my condo is in a older building and it doesn't look modern like what most people would probably want or be used to. What I try to do is I highlight the fact that we're walkable, we're steps away from the beach, restaurants, attractions. The building has an elevator, 24-hour security. We provide free parking. So I try to talk about those things. But again, if you're in a more modern building, then you want to talk about those things. You have a clubhouse, a pool, golfing, or a game room, an exercise room. You want to talk about all those different things in your listing because these things are provided as long as they are available for the guests. Because remember, we want accuracy to still get that 5. So you need to find the positives. If you're in a rural area, what makes it good? What makes your property good? Is it secure? Do you have security gates? Do you have parking, trees, or a walking trail? You have to find the positives and you'll be able to tell that. And hopefully this will outweigh something that a guest would have normally saw as a negative. They don't even look at that because there's so many other things that they really do like. Number 6 is value. Sometimes when you give something small, it can seem so big and so thoughtful to a guest. Like for me personally, in Jamaica, it's hot. So, what about having 2 bottles of water in the refrigerator waiting for them when they come in? Most people can't drink the tap water. So, having those 2 bottles of water is just a really nice gesture from me to the guest. Now, of course, you can go beyond that and provide like small snacks, or, you can have a welcome note. It's like sometimes when you check into the hotel and you may see your name flashing on the television. I know I've seen stuff like that. Or you go in and they have like a little written note by the bed. Just small gestures that don't really cost you a lot, but it can mean a lot to a person and get you that 5 stars when it comes to value. Now, I don't want to leave out the fact that sometimes you can go even beyond that if it's in your budget to provide like toiletries, there's shampoo, there's soap, the lotion, but there's so many things. The list can go on and on, little thoughtful things that you can go ahead and get for your guests and or have in the house when they check in. Those little things are often remembered in the reviews. And this is the last score. I should actually say that it's number 7. There is a category that they ask the guests, how was your overall stay? So they can rate you 1 to 5 on here. Now, what this means is that this score is what you're going to see over their name. When it shows that they gave you a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, or 5, that's what you're going to see above their name. This is separate from those categories that we just talked about. So it is possible for them to give you all 3s, right? And still give you a 5 in overall score. And I didn't understand that for the longest time because I'm like, well, how did this person, rate low here but give an overall score of 5? It's 2 separate scores. Let me just sum that up really quick. When you get your reviews from Airbnb, it may say this person gave Paris 5 stars. And I'm like, oh my God, she gave me all 5 stars. That doesn't necessarily mean that she gave me all 5 stars in all those subcategories that we just talked about. She could have given me an overall 5, but felt that I fell short in some of those subcategories. So when you go to read your review, make sure that you open it and scroll through every category that we talked about, because it doesn't always mean that they gave you all 5. Now, let's talk about your overall rating on Airbnb. When you start out, you can just have 5 stars, and that is amazing. It's amazing if you can keep that, after, 6 months, a year, and years beyond that. That is amazing that you're able to do that, and you are definitely doing something right. But what I don't want you to do is beat yourself up if you fall below that 5.0. It is extremely hard to keep that rating, and it's okay. I don't have it. I would love to have it, but I don't have it. So you do want to keep that 4.8 status, at least a 4.8, because it keeps you at a superhost status. And that makes you have better visibility on the listings. And you also receive a $100 credit toward a stay, a Airbnb stay. Now, this is not transferable to the next year, so you can't stack them and say, like, say you get Superhost for the past 3 years, you can't just save them all until you could actually get, like, pay for a vacation. You have to use that $100 within the year. I wish that they would put them together so I could use it toward a vacation, but right now you cannot do that. You get $100 per year, and then if you don't use it, it expires. The next category up would then be guest favorite. Then there's guest favorite with gold wings. And when you have the gold wings, Airbnb will then show if you're in the top 1%, top 5%, or top 10%. These people are actually the guest favorites and they have gold wings. Now, let me just let you know, if you don't reach any of those categories between the top, 1 to 10%, and you are still a guest favorite, you still are in the category when the guest goes to search for a home, they have a choice to pick that they want to see the guest favorites, and your home is going to pop up. That is not going to pop up anything else, like, just regular super hosts or people that are not even super hosts. It's going to just cue in on the guest favorites, which is very good for you. So this is why ratings truly do matter, because they give you better visibility on the platform. Now, let's talk about when your ratings are very low. You do stand a chance of Airbnb taking your listing off the platform, and they will put a label on your listing when you start to go too low. I think it's like at like 4.2 or something like that. You will be listed as in the bottom 10%. And it actually will say it on your listing. And I'm sure you don't want that, but that is the reality of what will happen. And you can stand a chance of being delisted. And you definitely don't want that, especially if Airbnb is your main source for getting listings. Let's talk about the bad review that was written on your public profile, and you are mad, you are angry, you want to cuss the guests out. What they said is not true. How could they lie about this? What you don't want to do is react unprofessionally, because this is your public reputation. This is your public review. This is what your potential guests, your future guests, are going to read. Yes, they're going to read that review, but they're also going to have a chance to read your response. So let me give you some tips on how you could possibly handle this. Because I know, the first thing you want to say is, oh, I'm about to get on here. I'm going to type this person. I'm going to tell them this and this, and I'm going to block them, and I'm going to do this. No, you're not going to do anything. You're going to read that review. And the first thing that I do in my response, I look for anything that they said that was good. Like, maybe they won't say anything good, but let's say they did say something good about your home. Like, oh, it was a nice location. Even if it wasn't directly about your home, if they said anything positive, you take those words and you put them back on them in your public response. For example, the person said that, it was a great location, or they liked the pool, or they liked the way your house smelled. Even though they gave you a bad review, if they say anything positive, that's what you start out. And you can start the sentence out like, I'm happy that you found, whatever that may be. Maybe they found the area walkable. I'm happy that you found the area walkable. Whatever they said positive, you want to reiterate that back in your response. And then comes the part when you're going to tackle the negative aspects of the review. But you want to do this politely and professionally. And always have in your mind, in the back of your mind, that your potential and future guests are going to be reading your response. You always have to write like that. So you always want to be polite and professional. So if they said something negative, you do want to address it. And maybe if it was something beyond your control, you may want to say that was beyond your control. If it was something that was in your control, you apologize for it, and then you want to kind of offer follow-up, that you are going to follow up, or that situation has been rectified for the next guest. Now, don't lie about it. You want to make sure that if there's something within the house that the guest talked about, and if you did rectify it, you say it, or that you're working on it. So you want to offer some type of resolution to the problem that they're bringing up. And if it truly is a problem, then you need to kind of work on it, right? Now, if they just completely lied about something, you want to gently and politely, what I call, debunk the situation. if it's something that you feel that you can address, you may have to think about this, but you just want to debunk it. Again, you're always thinking about the potential guest that read that review, and they're going to be reading your response. So do it gently, politely, and thoroughly. And I can give you an example of this. I had a guest that came to stay, and she talked about the security, that they were too busy to let her in. And I had to apologize for that, say that this is not something that normally happens. But then I also talked about the fact that the security doesn't just let people in. They have people with beach passes, they help people through the gate, they check people in. So I wanted to offer a reason to why she may have had that isolated event. And I actually said that in the review. I did apologize for that situation. I told her that this was an isolated event. Follow up would be done. So I acknowledged what she said. I apologized for it, and I gave a resolution. So my potential guests can read that like, hey, this is not something that happens all the time. So where I'm going with this is I want this potential guest to come stay with me, and I want to put their mind at ease about my security, because security is a huge thing. If the guest has a lot of negative things to say, like, oh, there was no hot water, or this was broken, or I didn't have this, and they never ever contacted you during their stay to let you know, make sure that you write that in your response. Like, hey, this is my first time ever hearing about that. You never contacted me during your stay. I was available. We would have definitely come out to resolve that problem. Make sure that you let that potential guest know that's reading that review that this person never even reached out, but now they want to come to review and say all these things, and they didn't even give you a chance to resolve the issue. So if this does happen to you, make sure that you write that in your response. And lastly, you want to end on a positive note, reassuring your future guests that you are committed to giving great service. Now, I am definitely an advocate for hosts, because we do go through a lot as hosts, but I am also an advocate for the guests as well, because I feel that we do need to provide them everything that we promise in our listings, and we want to give them good quality service to the best of our ability. But at the same time, we do have to stand up for ourselves, and we don't want anyone to come and ruin something that we've built and worked so hard to keep up and keep those scores up. I have to tell you guys about this, because this has happened to me a lot, and this can really hurt you as well. The guests that mess up, the guests that want to put 5 stars and they put 4 stars, the guests that say something that wasn't true and they thought this and they just made a mistake. And now your rating is there. That review is up. What can you do to change it? I recently had a guest that gave me overall 5, and she ended up giving 4 stars, right? Like in those individual categories that we talked about. If a guest gives me less than 5 stars in a particular category, I do a follow up, and I, politely ask them. I don't know if they're going to respond, but I always ask, like, hey, we're trying to provide the best service. I thank them for giving a review, and I asked them, like, was there something that we could have done better that you would have given us 5 stars? Where did we fall short? Because we're trying to improve. And when I wrote her, she was just like, oh no, I thought this was amazing, because her overall review, what she wrote, her private note, didn't add up to the numbers that she gave me. And she was like, no, I thought 4 stars would be like perfect. I'm just so used to that. And she's like, I really didn't mean to do it. And then she kept writing me like, I'm so sorry. Like, I thought, I had an amazing stay. Now, there was nothing that she can do, because once that review was posted, you can't do anything. She decided to take her review down because she didn't want it to hurt my scoring, because of the scores that she had given me. It hurt because it was a 4 star, and she wanted to give all 5 stars. The overall score that she gave was 5, but she told me she was so apologetic. She called Airbnb and she took the review down. That was really helpful to me. Now, you will have guests that will make mistakes. I had a guest that said that he had a hard time with check-in, and then I asked him, he was like, oh, my bad, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. And it's just like, now my score in check-in is down because you made a mistake. Reviews are so important, and a lot of these guests don't understand how important these scores are. And sometimes you will have guests that will make mistakes. So, you can do a follow-up. And if it's a really big mistake and they really didn't mean to do that, then, maybe they'll take the review down. Guys, I'm going to get out of here now. I feel this video was so long, but I had to tell you everything. Airbnb ratings and reviews is the backbone of our business. You have to take it seriously. You have to use the ratings and reviews to improve. And when things go wrong, you have to handle it with grace. I know that if you continue to be professional, be consistent, and run your business with love, you are going to prevail. You are going to do well. Things are not always going to be perfect. There are going to be some things that you can resolve, you can fix, and then there are going to be some things that are just out of your control. You are going to have guests that you love, and then you are going to have guests that you want to just block, never see, and what have you. But you are going to prevail in this business. You're already in the business. And if you're trying to go into the business, make sure that you continue to follow me on my journey, because I am definitely going to tell you the truth. It doesn't matter if you're running an Airbnb in Jamaica or anywhere else in the world. This video is meant for anyone that wants to get into the business. So until next time, you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.